Welcome to the Building Texas Show, where we find the leaders behind the businesses and organizations driving progress in Texas. In each episode, we share the stories of innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders committed to evolving Texas into its next era. I'm your host, Justin McKenzie, your guide to help you think about how to engage in the movement and support building Texas across the entire state. Founded by German freethinkers determined to find freedom from dictatorial monarchies and clerics, Comfort, Texas remains an unincorporated census-designated area today. To that end, Comfort residents and businesses historically relied on community support and a spirit of the possible to be successful. To this day, Comfort is a place where people gather, they celebrate, and tap into the essence of the earliest settlers of the Texas Hill Country. Comfort is known in the region for its annual Christmas in Comfort celebration and is an ideal spot for tourists and weekend travelers wanting to experience the magic of the Texas Hill Country without the crowds. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Building Texas Show. As you can see, we're not in the studio today. We're at a beautiful location in Comfort, Texas at the Ingen-Hut on High. And I'm sitting here with Craig Leeder, who has really put a lot of love and time and energy into this facility and this building. And we're going to dive into that story. But we're in Comfort today, highlighting everything about Comfort. You'll see a series of many videos highlighting and talking about what Comfort's doing well, how they're positioning for an exciting Christmas in Comfort and a spring that brings people to this community and has them discovering the great people, the great opportunities, and the beautiful scenery that we have in Comfort, Texas. Craig Leeder, you are joining us today, and I'm excited to share your story because you do a lot across Kendall County in general, but focusing on High Street and Ingen-Hut. How did you come to be the caretaker of this facility at this point?
Well, back in, I guess, 98, I was in the masonry supply business, stone business, and I came here. But further back than that, years ago, I came here all the time. I grew up in Barney, born and raised in Barney. And Barney was a community like Comfort is today, I think. I mean, it's a little town that I felt comfortable in. And anyways, when I started the stone business, I came here because my father had a family ranch that was here, or his grandparents that they sold years ago. But we would come here many times and trips and buy feed and everything else in these little towns, and come into Ingen-Hut's, which was just a small general store. And I loved it. It was still the old wood floors, and when you walked in, hardly anybody was ever in here, but they had everything, anything and everything you wanted. So, but when I was coming in here in 98 and bought the property that I started the quarry, the stone mill on, I would come in here and get stuff, and then it burned down, unfortunately, in 2006, and stayed vacant for many years.
And when it burned down in totality. I mean, the only walls that I remember being up are the stone walls.
And even some of them fell down. This whole side of the building imploded or collapsed and fell down.
And for a long time after that, 2006, there was a chain link fence around this property. And just if you've never been to Comfort, there is a street here where there's a lot of activity. It's High Street. Mm-hmm. So if you're on High Street, you see this beautiful building, but it was wrapped up in a construction/fire zone
it was just in ruins, and it looked horrible. And although just again, the chain link fence sitting around it for, I guess, till 2012, basically, when we took the fence down.
So about
6 years.
So about 6 years in the center of town, and it was that.
Yeah.
So when you purchased the property, you were known in the area, and But how did the community of Comfort receive someone coming in and picking up this project?
They were all excited, but they didn't have a clue what I was going to do with it because it truly looked like it should be torn down. I mean, It was in just total ruins, but that was never my intention. That's why I purchased the building. I wanted to do something with it with the Alfred Giles history, architect, and architect history is what I kind of liked. I mean, I enjoy seeing these old buildings, and I was doing a lot of restoration, stonework on a lot of these old buildings, and I thought, well, this is maybe one I can handle. And we got into it and started cleaning it up, but people are all coming around just wondering what we were going to do with it. And right off the bat, before I ever even purchased it, I got a hold of an architect, Don McDonald, and who's done a lot of the Pearl Brewery projects downtown and a lot of projects all over, really, and really high-end architect. And he was excited about it. We both got excited about it. He started sketching and doing some things. So the town wanted to have a meeting, basically, and they wanted to come together and figure out what was going on. And we had it down at the Heritage down there. And anyways, half the community showed up. I think most of the people in town were here just excited about it. But once they saw my vision and Don's vision of what we were going to do with it, it was all over with, and they all got behind us and supported us. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, it made it really fun coming in here doing stuff and people just coming in telling their stories for on and on about how they were coming here as a kid and purchasing items, and so glad to see it go back.
Well, that's what I so appreciate about the Comfort community. When it finds a project that it wants to support, it supports it all in. And I see that with this project. And what it has become is a beautiful event center. And you host all types of events here now.
Yes.
A lot of weddings. I've seen community dinners here. What other events have you hosted here in town?
Well, the very first event was the library, because we had no purpose for the building. I just wanted to see it go back and in all its glory, and where they, put it back together. And the Library Foundation came to us and asked if they mind holding the annual fundraiser for the library here. And we said, yeah, we can do that. But once we put that on and carried it off, everybody's like, this is what it has to be. So we ended up, that'll work. And we started doing weddings, but lots of fundraisers, lots of birthday parties. We've had, and mainly weddings.
You mentioned the architect, and we're going to talk to Hotel Giles in an episode in the future. But tell me, what is that history from your perspective around Alfred Giles and the building itself?
Well, just hearing his name for years, we had some, even at UTSA, there was a architect at a UTSA that I did some work for me, did my office in San Antonio and stuff. He was a big Alfred Giles fan. And I guess Alfred Giles' granddaughter was working with him at the time, and she came in and did some drafting for us on one of the projects. I believe that's right. And anyways, just knowing and hearing his name forever, I think he did 13 of the state courthouses.
Wow.
Yeah. And, lots of stuff, the Grayson Mansion in San Antonio, and also did a ton of stuff in Monterrey, Mexico.
What time frame would that have been? Like, when was this building originally built?
This building was 1890.
Okay.
So, but I think he was anywhere from the 1860s, maybe as early as the 60s, but most of his stuff was late 1890, 1900, 1910.
Now, for those of you that don't know Comfort, Texas yet, it is not a city. It is a census-designated area, which means it's really a population of people in a geographic dense area that they call Comfort. But that means there's not municipal support. So there's not, on a project like this, you didn't have to get city permitting. I assume you had to work with the county at some level. But a lot of those balances that people in Houston or San Antonio would think about don't exist out here. And that's not unique to Comfort. That's small towns across Texas. What kind of challenges or opportunities does the CDA status of Comfort give you?
Well, for me, it made life a little easier just because I could come in and do what I wanted, how I wanted to do it. But again, with us having that meeting and having a great architect behind me, drawing and drafting, engineering, in a sense, we got engineers involved because of the structure of the stone.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of what the steel structure is, the bones that support it back up more than anything. I mean, but it really works. And without having the pressures from the city and what you're doing all the time, it made life easier for me.
But then I know it's this having the right steward as well. So you don't necessarily need that if you have that personal standard. But that does bring the difficulty of investment, other funding support. But that's what I love about the spirit of Comfort. It really is a community of neighbors that come together and lift it up. It takes energy like you to bring it together. But if I hear the Comfort Area or the Comfort Heritage Foundation coming in and being immediately supportive, I think that's helpful. I think that's going to win over the public sentiment and get them behind a project like this. And was that the experience that you had?
Yes, with that
2011, 2012 coming in?
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, even prior to myself coming in here, I don't really what drives it, just the great community and the people around it. But people have really spent time and money and put worthy cause to everything that they've put in.
Yeah.
Building the building and fixing things up. And there's a lot of people behind wanting to bring it back to its original state, which is what I wanted to do.
And when you host events here, I imagine that brings people to Comfort, and maybe they discover Comfort for the first time because they've come to a wedding here or a birthday party. How does the community itself promote into San Antonio, Austin, Dallas to attract people here? Do you see that happening, or is the Ingen-Hut do that?
Ingen-Hut does that in its way with the weddings and bringing people in. We do very little advertising. So it is the people that come here that do the advertising for us. I mean, they go out and they just fall in love with the little town. I mean, the community supports itself. We have lots of B&Bs, lots of small restaurants and things. And then they come here and see the beauty and just love it and tell their friends.
And I like to think that it's the last real small town in the Hill Country. If I look around, there's some Sisterdale, Candelia type towns, but if you get to Comfort, you have restaurants, you have a gas station, you have a reason to stop on the highway. But it's easy to drive through Comfort and miss High Street. And so I'm encouraging people to take that left off of 27 and come down and visit all the retailers that are here, but come walk through and see this facility. If you're looking for a place for your event, for your wedding, maybe, this is one to consider. Now, you have a koi pond in the middle of this. Is there a reason the koi pond came to be?
No, other than, again, this was the grocery side of the building. It was all closed in. And with Don and I talking, I always enjoyed the pond, always having a negative edge like it does all the way around. Loved the look. And when he said, we ought to put that in the middle, I thought that was a great idea. This was a pier and beam floor, wooden floor, and it completely burned down to the ground. So there's nothing here other than dirt and rubble in the bottom. And we thought, well, that would be a great place to tell the story, invite people in through the door. And it really has. People love this thing.
What are you looking forward to in the next year for Comfort? What do you see on the horizon?
Growth. We'd love to see I would love to see growth coming into town and restaurants and things, and the support, have some other support that would come in. Keeping it small is a great thing.
Yeah.
But you have to have the growth and support to support everybody.
Well, and in the Hill Country, growth can be a tough conversation. There's both sides of it. To your point, we want to keep the heritage, but we need the opportunity. And I have a bend towards the kids graduating from Comfort High School and where they see opportunity, and growth gives them that opportunity. When we talk about growth, though, housing comes in. And Comfort, I look around Comfort, there's a lot of people moving to pockets, but it still is that last little Hill Country state highway town that hasn't experienced the boom that, say, a Bernie or a Kerrville is experiencing. what would you encourage people to come here and look for if they were looking for an opportunity to put a business, put a restaurant? What type of restaurateur would you want to find? Maybe that's a good question.
We need a burger joint.
A good burger joint.
Burger and brisket, in my opinion. And there you go, barbecue. But we have great restaurants here. They're small, and there's just a few of them, but they're wonderful. People love coming and eating at Highs and everything else. And at night, a little nightlife with a burger joint or something like that, I feel would be
really great opportunity.
Really good, yeah.
So if you have an idea for a burger joint on a small town street, this might be the place to look at. And I want to approach that conversation of growth head on, because it will come. We can manage it, or we can let it ride over. And I think the spirit of what we've seen in Comfort, and the spirit that I know in Comfort, is managing it. And I'll go back to when you purchased this, you had a vision, and the community came behind it and supported it as they saw you being a great steward to this facility. So I can appreciate that it's a hard conversation, but I can also say it's a good conversation.
Yeah.
It opens new doors.
It really does.
And you farm here locally as well?
Yes, I've come back into town and tried to buy some of my old family homestead up, in which I have done, and I farm and ranch. And
what do you farm here?
Just hay. I just hay.
Hay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that farming still happens here. When they think of Bernie and Kerrville and everything in between, there's a lot of acreage being raised for hay and harvested, and that's still a big piece. Agriculture is a big piece of the economy in Comfort. So I appreciate that you're doing that as well.
It is.
And making it visible. Well, Craig Leeder, thank you so much for the work, the time, talent, and treasure that goes into a project like this, and the magnet that it has become.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and everybody's really supported me behind it, and it's been a good project. So,
well, we appreciate you, your wife Janine, and the way that you are building Texas.
Well, thank you.
Thank you to all of our sponsors who have helped feature Comfort, Texas on the Building Texas Show. Please visit comfort.buildingtexasshow.com to learn more about these sponsors, Comfort, Texas, and to plan your next road trip into the Texas Hill Country. To learn more, visit our website, buildingtexasshow.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook at Building Texas.